how do we find for the equations or the equation of a circle given 3 points? So there are actually different methods that we can apply in finding for the equation of a circle when we are given 3 points. But one of the easiest is the general form method. So from the general equation of your circle, which is x squared plus y squared plus dx plus ey plus f is equal to 0, we can actually form different or three equations with this 2, 3, 2, 4, and negative 1, 2 as the value of our x and y. So the first point that you are given is 2, 3. So having that point 2, 3, we can now substitute 2 and 3 as our x and y so that we will be able to form equations. So here we have to take note that if you have an ordered pair 2, 3, this 2 represents the x and the 3 represents the y, which simply means that we can actually directly substitute this in the general form, which simply means that having that value of x, we can now have x or have x raised to the second power, and in this case in point 1 you have 2 to the second power, which will become 4. Y raised to the second power, that becomes 3 raised to the second power, that is equivalent to positive 9. And we have dx. We will retain now d as our variable, so x is again 2, so that means this will now be equivalent to positive 2d. And then ey, again y is equal to 3, so that becomes now plus 3e, because that is multiplied by, or multiplying now 3 and e, so 3e plus the f, which is actually the constant in the general form of your circle, and this will be equated to 0. Now this will be done in all the three different points. So the first one that we had or we have is 2, 3, so that's your point 1. Point 2 will be basically your point 2, 4, and point 3 will now become your negative 1, 2. So point 1 is negative 1, 2. So that is actually the one that we have to follow. So we have now 2 squared. Again, you are trying to base your equation based on this general form of your circle. We have 4, and then 4 squared is equal to 16. And then, of course, that becomes also positive 2d, because we are letting now your x to be equal to 2. And then plus 4e. And of course, you have the f plus f is equal now to 0. Okay, and then the last one, we have the point 3, which has negative, or the point is negative 1, 2. So again, x squared is negative 1 multiplied by itself. So 1 times 2, or negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. And you have 2 times 2 is equal to 4. So we have here a positive 4. And then you have to be careful in this, because this one is negative 1. Negative 1 multiplied by the value of your d will now become negative d, and 2 with the e now will be simply 2e plus f is equal to 0. So as you notice, we were able to form 3 equations with 3 unknowns. So the thing that we are actually looking for are the variables d, e, f, which will soon become the constant in the equation. That's actually the one that we have to look for. So we will just try to simplify this equation. We will let the constant be on the right side of our equation, so that you will have here 2d plus 3e plus f is equal to, we have 4 and 9, on the left side of your equation. So it will now become negative 13. So that is applying the subtraction property of equality. Okay, so here we have to do the same thing. So we have 2d plus 4e plus f is equal to, we have here 4 and 16, that is equivalent to 20, but that will be now equal to negative 20 on the left side of your equation. And the last one, you have 1 plus 4 minus d plus 2e plus f is equal to 0. So actually, you can just simply have there negative d, or you can multiply all the terms by the negative. But I will just retain it, negative d plus, okay, we have your 2e plus still your f is equal now to the constant, which is 1 plus 4, that is 5. So applying your subtraction property of equality, that will now become negative 5 on this side. So we are down now to 3 equations with 3 unknowns. So what are we going to do? Of course, the easiest process that we can make use is the elimination process. So since we notice that you have f, and f here, our first or main thing or main problem now is to first eliminate the value of f. So we can combine. We will now take this one as our first equation. So we will have this as our equation number 1, equation number 2, and the third one as our equation number 3. So what are we going to do? We can combine 1 and 2, or 1 and 3, or 2 and 3. So it's up to you to decide. Okay? So I will try to have the first and the second equation. So that will be combining 2d plus 3e plus f, and that is equivalent to negative 13. And you have there 2d. So as you notice, 2d will also be eliminated later. So there is already a value that we will be able to solve. Okay, so plus f is equal now to a negative 20. Okay, so looking into this, we can eliminate, actually, our aim is to eliminate the f, so we can eliminate by subtraction. It just so happened that in this problem, we also have 2d and 2d, so 2d minus 2d will now become 0, and then f minus f will be 0, so these are already cancelled, and what is left is 3e minus 4e, so you have to be careful with the sign. So this is now equal to negative e, and that will be equal to negative 13 minus the negative 20. So there will be a change in the sign in your subtrahend, making this now equal to positive 7. So we already have a value. Your value for E is equivalent to negative 7. Okay? So the next thing that we have to do is we can combine our second and third. So again, we will do it by elimination. So for example, you still have your 2d. So 2d plus 4e. Actually, here you can substitute already your e, but I will assume that I don't have the exact value, so I will just have that 4e plus f. Okay, and this is equivalent to negative 20. And the third one, we have a negative d, and then plus 2e is, or plus f, is equal to negative 5. So again, the purpose for this is for me to eliminate the f. So since we have a positive f and a positive f, we do the elimination by subtraction. So subtracting this whole thing from the minuend, 2d minus the negative d, this will result to 3d. And then you have 2e minus or 4e minus positive 2e, that will be positive 2e. And that is now the f and f here will be cancelled. And we have to equate this now with, we have a negative 20 minus negative 5. So this will turn out to be negative 20 plus 5, meaning you will be having a negative 15 as the result. Okay, now, if you are going to look into this one, we already have a value of E, which is negative 7, which simply means, or this will imply now that we can actually solve for D. So having 3D plus 2e. So we will now take the place of e, and we will replace that with the value that we just solved, which is negative 7. And that this will be equated to, what is that? Negative 15. We just bring that down. We have negative 15. Okay, so from here, we have here now 3D. And this will now be equal to negative 15. And what happens to the negative 14 here? This will now be moved on the right side of your equation. And this will be equivalent to positive 14. Which means that the value of D is, okay, we have 3D is equal to a negative 1. Okay? So since your 3D is negative 1, we could just divide both sides by 3, making now or giving us a value for D, which is equal to a negative 1/3. Okay? Okay. From there, we already have a value of E and D. So the only variable that we need to solve is F. So we can just choose from among these equations which to use. So we can have the first one. So if I will be using the first one, that will be 2 multiplied by, again, I am trying to substitute it to 2D plus 3E plus F, okay, is equivalent to negative 13. Now, the thing here or the idea here is we can choose any from among these equations. It's up to you. So we have now 2 multiplied by the negative 1/3. So because that's the value of D that we were able to solve. And then plus 3E. So our E is negative 7. So we have 3 multiplied by a negative 7. And your F now becomes still your variable because that's actually the one we are trying to solve, is equivalent to 13. But that is not so clear. So we have here 13. Still not so clear. Okay. So what do we have now? We will be trying to solve for this 2 times negative 1/3. So that will result to negative 2/3. And you have here now your 3 multiplied by negative 7. So that is also giving us a negative 21. So we'll just write there minus 21 plus the F, which is now equal to negative 13. Oh, I forgot the negative there. Okay, negative 13. So this simply means that we can now solve for F by simply combining the terms negative 13, and then you have the negative 2/3, and the negative 21 will now be positive 2/3 on the right side of your equation. And of course, of the negative 21 will also be positive 21 on this side. Okay, so if you are going to solve for this, it will just be proper to find for the LCD. So looking into this, we have 3 because this has a denominator which are understood to be over 1. So 3 divided by 1 is 3 times the negative 13. That will now become negative 39. Plus, you have 3 over 3, or 3 divided by 3 times 2. So that's still equal to 2. And then 3 divided by 1 times 21 is equal to 63. So this will now become positive 63. So we have a positive 2 and a positive 63. And the answer that you are getting there is 65. 65 minus 39. What is the answer that we are getting? 65 minus 39 will give us 26. So that means to say that your answer for this is 26 over 3. And that is now the value of F. So after getting the values of D, E, and F, all we have to do is to go back to the general form of your equation. So we will now let our variables x and y, okay, x squared plus y squared. And then there you have your D is equivalent to, again, the D is negative 1/3. So this simply means that you have negative 1/3 of x. Okay. And then your Y, you're supposed to have EY, and your E happens to be negative 7. So that means you have negative 7y. And your F is 26 over 3, and that is positive. So this will become positive 26 over 3. And that must be equated to 0. Now you might ask, are we done? Are we done? You can see that there are fractions or rational numbers that you have here, 1/3, 26 over 3. So it should be the numerical coefficients of your variables here should be integers. So there is a need for us to multiply all these terms by the denominator. So what are we going to do? We will just simply multiply this whole thing by 3. Okay, so that the result of this problem will be the final answer will be x raised to the second power plus, it should be 3x raised to the second power plus 3y raised to the second power, and then multiplying 3 with the negative 1/3, that becomes negative x. And then you have 3 with the negative 7y. That will now become minus 21y. And of course, the 3 with the 26 over 3 will simply be positive 26. And 3 times 0 will still be equal to 0. So that's the answer for this problem, which is actually finding for the equation of the circle passing through the points 2, 3, 4, 2, negative 1, 2. Now, if you want to prove and you want to be sure whether you are correct or not, you can actually substitute the value and prove yourself if you got the correct answer. Like, if you are going to assume now the value which is given. So we have 2, 3 as one of the points. So we can just get that point 2, 3, and then we will try to substitute in the equation that we obtain. So if we have the final answer as x squared or 3x squared plus 3y squared, and then minus x minus 21y plus 26, it should be equivalent to 0. So since we have the first value, which is 2, 3, we can simply have this point now again, this x or this 2 is represents your x, and your y represents your 3 is represented by the y. Okay, so we have now 2 times 2 is 4 times 3. The answer that you will be getting there is equal to 12. And then plus, if you have 3y squared, so 3 times 3, that is equivalent to 9, times 3 is 27. So we will have 27. And then minus x, so we have minus 2, minus 21y, so that is simply 3 times 21. We have on 63, but don't forget that there is a negative sign, so minus 63 plus 6. So let's try to check if this will really be equal to 0. So 12 and 29, that is giving us a sum of 40. This is supposed to be 26. Okay. So 12 and 27, that is giving us a sum of 39. So 39 plus the 26, 39 plus the 26, because those are the ones which are positive, that is 65. And then negative 2 with the negative 63, there is equivalent to negative 65. So negative 65 and positive 65, it's equal to 0. So it is satisfied, or our equation is satisfied. Now, if you are not convinced yet, you can do it again with the second point, which is 2, 4. So if we are going to distribute or to substitute again 2, 4, the equation must also be satisfied. What are we going to do? Again, we have 3x raised to the second power. So 2 times 2 times 3 is equivalent to 12. And then 4 times 4 is 16. 16 times 3 is 48. So there you have 48. And then minus the x is equal to 2. So we have 2. Negative 21y. So that is 21 times 4. That is giving us 48. So that is negative. So we have 48 also. And the constant now, which is positive 26. Okay. So if you are going to look into this, we have a positive 48, a negative 48. There must be something wrong. So 3 times 3 is 4. 4 times 3, 12. And then 4 times 4, 16. 16 times 3 is 48. And then minus 2. 21 times 4 is, this must be 84. Okay, so again, 21 times 4, this must be equivalent to 84. So that's the mistake. And then you have 26. So positive 12, positive 48, and then positive 26. So if you are combining 12 plus 48 plus 26, the answer is 86. And you have negative 2 with negative 84, the answer is equal to 0 as well. So it's equal to 0. And finally, you have negative 1, negative 1, 2. So we can do the same thing. You have to substitute it for the checking. So 3 times x raised to the second power. So negative 1 squared is 1 times 3. That is equivalent to 3. And then we have y squared. So 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 3 is equivalent to 12. So that will be plus 12. And negative x means you have negative 1 multiplied by the negative there. So that becomes, or that will give us a positive 1. And negative 21y, that is negative 21 with the value of y, which is 2. So that is equal to negative 42. And finally, that is positive 26. So plus 26. Okay, so 3, 12, 1. and 26, these are all positive, so we combine this. This will give us a sum of 16 with the 26. There is positive 42 and we have a negative 42. So again, the answer that we are getting is 0. So all equations were satisfied. Therefore, 3x squared plus 3y squared minus x minus 21y plus 26 is equal to 0 is the equation of the circle, which satisfies the condition that this is passing through these given points 2, 3, 2, 4, and negative 1, 2.